Ram, can you start with a small introduction about your organization? It keeps evolving and morphing itself, so we'd like to know where you are currently and how you are placed differently from the others in the field. So if you can start with that.
Sure. So we are as we started way back in 2008, and we do peer-to-peer lending, and we've been doing that since then. More recently, we transitioned into a NBFC P2P platform, and as early as last year, August 30th, we got the license from RBI, and 1st of September is when we launched a new platform with the same name but with a different domain name called RangDe.in. What is unique about this platform is it's now regulated by RBI. What it really means is that now if I were to lend money to somebody, until now it would have been an informal lending. Now if I were to route that same money via RangDe, it now becomes institutional credit. What does that mean? It means that RBI monitors it, but also more importantly, it gets recorded in all the 4 credit bureaus in India. So that's very powerful, especially in a country where we don't have not much of data on lending and borrowing. That's very, very useful to be able to get a better credit in future. And the team at RangDe is working hard. We have grown in team size as well. We have many interns now who have joined us. We've never had so many interns in the history of RangDe, and we are growing quite rapidly. But yes, I think we're doing our best. But the need is a lot more. At RangDe, we've always believed that RangDe is India's best kept secret, and the point is that it's time to let the word out, because people always get confused when they look at RangDe. Oh, you are another crowdfunding platform, or oh, you're trying to do microfinance. The reality is we do neither. We do peer-to-peer lending and do a pretty good job at it. But people, so it's a very nuanced model. So people take a while to understand. Also, they wonder, why do we need something like this when things are all going so well? And because credit, is something which is a very intangible thing. We all feel the need for it, but we don't learn it as a subject. We don't understand that as a need for so many people. Responding to this whole pandemic in 2 ways. One is to see how we could provide immediate relief to communities who are affected, can earn a livelihood, but need access to credit. So one such community is the small and marginal farmers who have been affected. There is sadly not too much of data, not too much of information available on what the situation is, because there is such a widespread economic distress that it's not getting the focus it deserves. So what we've really done in response to this pandemic, we have launched a campaign where we are offering interest-free loans to small and marginal farmers. We're trying to do this in as much to the best of our ability. Even though the need is massive, humongous, we have committed ourselves to disburse loans to the tune of 10 crores, just in time for the Kharif season, which starts next month. So yeah, so that's briefly what we're doing. Our structure of credit is quite different, and also the other thing which I wanted to share was that unlike other institutions, financial institutions, our source of capital is not a bank. Our source of capital is people like us. So therefore, I think it just gives us enormous flexibility to raise capital, which is a lot more aligned with what the community needs. And therefore, the interest-free loans, as an example, was possible. That was the first focus. The second focus has now shifted to entrepreneurs, small enterprises, micro enterprises, and trying to see how we could support them. What we're really trying to do is have a very sharp focus on. So if you remember earlier, we used to work across communities and not have a sharp focus. But what we really realized is that it really helps if you have a sharp focus, especially in these times, so that we're able to do a good job of not just reaching out to the communities, but also be able to galvanize support for the communities. For example, in the case of farmers, we were very focused. We were able to talk to a lot of subject matter experts, thought leaders who really cared about farmers. And the same thing we want to do it for entrepreneurs, small business owners. So it just helps us also in fundraising. So that's something which we're doing. The other focus area is also artisans. How do we, provide them access to credit? So that's something which we are also debating and looking at. Is credit the answer, right? Because they are really in bad, in a very bad situation because they have unsold inventory, they have no new orders. So if you give them credit in such a situation, what would they do with it? It would just help them in smoothing their cash flows, but doesn't really create a sustainable impact. So that's something which we've been debating. Yeah, so that's where we are. So the focus is micro entrepreneurs and students, and so because that's going to be the big focus, and also migrants. Migrants who have returned back. We're now getting requests, very specific requests, to see how we can give them specific skills to become self-employed. But that's going to be that's a huge need there, and that's going to be a very large focus. Actually, to be very honest, Aruna, I think Habba was something which we had old storage, to be very honest. But now what we're really thinking of doing is to see if we could revive Habba. For a very simple reason is that for the current crisis which the artisans are facing, we believe we might have an answer. Because the challenge has been that if you look at today, the marketplaces, be it Amazon or many of them, there are many of them. And many of the artisan groups, they also try and sell online. Whether it's online or offline, the challenge has been, there are no customers. There is, it's not as though, let's do a big billion days. And, I don't think, I think there are all indications that, we are not in a recession, but we are in a deep depression, which is still continuing. Right? So we have not reached a point economically that, we are point of recovery. So the challenge is really, therefore, how do we find customers who are willing to pay? Because if we can crack that puzzle, then, we should get the momentum back in the industry. Because across the industry, there is a, sense of, people are very sad and, upset, with what's going on. And the artisans, and these are reports coming from our own ecosystem, but I can imagine what is happening outside that is highly skilled artisans, who are talented, who are known for their hand skills. They are stepping out of their comfort zones, going out to do hard labor. Either in the Narega scheme or, participating in daily wage or farm labor, so that they can, put some food on the table. So that's a real shame. If you look at the so-called industry leaders, everybody's saying, we've stopped giving orders because if there's nobody. So the data, according to some surveys, the sales have plummeted to 1/10. They were selling 100 rupees, they now sell for 10 rupees. So that's somewhere, and we believe, we just feel that we might find an answer. We don't know the answer yet, but Habba was designed, from the word go a bit differently. It was designed to be a B2B2C, not a B2C or B2B. So we believe there might be a possibility of reviving and generating at least a demand for 20 crores, if not more, uh, for handmade goods. And it's soon, so we'll hear more about Habba in the coming weeks, in the days and weeks.
Okay.
So what we're doing this with our partners. So many of the migrant workers who are getting back, they have two choices, right? One, they set up a shop of their own, or they participate in a agri value chain. So they work in the food processing unit or set up a small food processing unit. So they need to be trained on that. And I think this micro food enterprises are going to be a big source of providing livelihood. And I was referring to that. But there are also very independent programs run by well-meaning organizations such as Dhriti, DHRIITI. They are, 14-year-old organization which they have been absolutely focused on creating grassroots entrepreneurship. And they're doing a wonderful program in the Northeast. 200 women entrepreneurs are being mentored to run their enterprises. And many such programs are now happening. They're collaborating, and we are collaborating with them because as part of entrepreneurship, you need access to credit. And we're doing a small innovation, I think, there as well. I've not shared this before, but what we're really trying to do is, in these uncertain times, it's very unfair for us to say that, Acha, you take a loan, now 10,000 rupees, now every month you repay the loan. It just doesn't make sense, right? So what we're really trying to do is, we always, toyed with this idea of doing micro equity. What if you were to be an equity investor in them, right? But no, it's easier said than done, right? Because who will do the paperwork? How will you value the company? After all, they're small businesses. So we just, thanks to one of our partners, we came up with this whole. The credit goes to them, and we're trying to adapt this to the larger ecosystem, to see how we could make the loans, how we can repurpose a credit, a debt instrument as an equity instrument. So the way we're doing this is, upfront, we're telling the lender that, hey, this is a 0% loan, right? So you will get 0%. However, the entrepreneur at the end of the year will decide how much of the profit they would want to share with you. That's it. This is like the dream come true, right? Because it's very super unfair, right? And this works beautifully for a peer-to-peer platform like ours, right? Because there are people on both sides, right? It's not a cold institution. It's not a bank on the other side. So if I am lending, and that connect, it just multiplies, just that human connection. It's by many folds, right? For example, if I were to invest in an entrepreneur, and the entrepreneur towards the end of the loan says, thanks to your loan, I actually made a cumulative profit of 20,000 rupees, and out of which I'm willing to give you 5,000. Right? Of his or her own free will. And then, just imagine, how would you feel about it? I'm sure all of us will be all smiles, right? Saying that, wow, that's really cool, right? We will, the last thing we would do is take out a calculator and say that, okay, how much percentage was it? Right? So I think that's something we're very excited about. And we're going to do this for 200 women entrepreneurs I was talking about in Northeast. So we're going to, for the first time, launch it. And they're already very excited. We've heard about it. The entrepreneurs are very excited. So So that's beautiful because, without getting into the SEBI guidelines of equity and all of that, you know, we're creating that flavor, and it's a very powerful construct. Um, and yeah, so that's we are very excited about it. Yeah, I think let me just talk about the farmer campaign. Aruna, you know us very well.
Yes,
Most of the
yeah.
time, so we did a small innovation there. And therefore we were able to achieve scale. Um, so one of the challenges we had was, we used to list all the farmers or entrepreneurs or students, and then fundraise for them. The problem with that is really, they end up waiting, because, it's also a lot of, there's too much of information processing which is happening, right? So if I am lender, I'll come to the side and say, Acha, this is a very interesting profile. I will lend 2,000 rupees to her. Here's another person. I'll lend 1,000 rupees. That's fine, right? That's fine in normal circumstances, right? Because people more on my mating. I mean, that's fine, right? They're getting access to credit. But in these times, completely unprecedented times, there's distress. There's a palpable distress, across, everywhere. Everybody's lost money, continue to lose money. And food security is a challenge. More than money, food, right? So for farmers, we didn't want them to wait. Our, internal, we had agreed on a mandate saying that we will give farmers real-time credit. They come, apply, the money gets transferred into their account. So to make that happen and to do it in a regulated way, we work backwards. We said, if that is a use case we want to achieve, how can we achieve it? So the way we did this was have a very sharp focus. We said small and marginal farmers. We also said, these are the conditions of the loan, and this is the focus. So we said, well, can people come and commit funds upfront and forego the ability to choose whom they would lend to? And we told them why we have removed this this option. And we explained to them, we said, well, this is because we don't want them to wait. Because of the lockdowns, we don't know when they will be able to process. There are a lot of challenges on the ground. So field communities of field staff of our partner, they're doing a heroic work, risking their lives, reaching out to the communities. So we said, well, just because of this, right, we will not be able to give you the choice. But having said that, once we invest in the farmer, you would get notified instantly as to who those farmers are, where your money has been invested in. Right? So you get to
Do they
see.
have any other preferences, like state-wise, or do they give any preferences?
Absolutely, I think you're so right. I think that's again, so what we did, we said, well, when a pandemic, a crisis like this happens, it's also time for us to think about national integration.
National, yeah.
Right? Because fair enough, I mean, you are from Uttar Pradesh. It's time for you to invest in Tamil Nadu, right? And if you're Tamil Nadu, time to invest in West Bengal, right? So after all, we're all one. We're one country. And you're right, Aruna. I mean, this was a very strong, factor for people to choose the state and then invest. And again, we requested, we gave them our. We explained this whole thing, and people are fine with it. They're saying that's fine. We appreciate it. We understand, where we're heading, and when the money comes back, and when things get normal, we'll bring that back. So just for this time, yeah. So that was another innovation we did. I think worked really well.
Just for this time. It should be for all time. It need not be just for this time.
Yeah, actually, I agree with you. Because it's just a lot more efficient. It just removes the guesswork. Sometimes the profile of the picture has not been shot well. Just accidental error, or the entrepreneur is not smiling; he's actually frowning. So people say, no, I'm not going to give it to this person. Right? And just it gets a bit judgmental and objective judgment. People start judging, and that's not a right thing. That's a great question, and you've done small innovations there as well. I think when you're pushed to a corner, I think you don't have a choice but to innovate, right? You're thrown into the
Correct.
water, you start swimming, and you end up creating a
Mm.
new stroke.
Mm.
So what we've really done is, if you look at our business model, I think, as you know, Aruna, we were very concerned when we became a for-profit, because we didn't start RangDe to make money, rather wanted to create tangible, sustainable impact at scale. So the challenge which we had was, as a lender, there are only two ways we can make money: by charging higher interest rate, or by giving more and more loans, or by doing both.
Mm.
If you look at most of the commercial microfinance institutions out there in India, they all do both. They charge high interest rates, they also give more and more loans. It's alarming. I recently heard, in response to the pandemic, they're giving top-up loans to the communities who are already very indebted. Right? So just an example of how things can go really, really wrong. So we didn't want to go that path. And so thanks to our mentor, Professor P. Sudarshan, and his guidance, we were able to find an alternative. We found that alternative in a time-tested business model, which is used by internet startups, and that is a freemium business model.
Yeah.
Essentially, a freemium, where you
Okay.
charge a nominal membership fee to
Mm.
access the platform.
Mm.
And we felt, that was fantastic because, we were also an internet platform. And we were also federated on both sides, right? On one side, we have individuals who want to borrow. On one side, we have individuals who want to lend. And we were very clear that we didn't want to sustain or at some point make profits from the interest the borrower pays. So we said, how about charging a small membership fee, as small as 70 rupees a month?
Membership fee to the borrower as well as
To the lenders.
to the lenders. Okay.
To the lenders, a membership fee to be able to access the platform.
Okay.
The question is, why should they be paying? After all, they're lending. So our thinking was that at the click of a button, a lender can invest in entrepreneurs across the country who are highly curated, who have also mentored, and more importantly, these are entrepreneurs whom you can trust with your money. So we felt that that's a small fee to pay, because if you were to look at RangDe as a platform in the true sense of the word, we're just connecting people. So it's only fair that we charge them a small service fee. But we also introduced, we said, well, but people may not just agree to pay. So we come with a free plan and a premium plan. So in the free plan, you can invest in any one state of your choice for free forever. But if you want to invest in more than one state, then you need to become a member. So that's absolutely fair, right? So that's the model we've done. But then, thanks to the pandemic, we said, well, there's no point in asking for a membership fee. So, if you remove the membership fee for all the interest-free loans. So that is first revenue source. The second revenue source is we charge our partners, our impact partners, a fee to access the platform. There's a one-time setup fee and there's a recurring fee. Now, why should they be paying? Because what we give them is access to an NBFC platform with the freedom which they would have even if they had their own NBFC. It's almost similar to having their own NBFC, because we give them everything and all the ability to customize, create whatever they want, and offer the communities at the lowest cost.
I think
Now, they have a mandate for access to credit, and therefore they find we are, charging a membership fee. So that also adds to the sustainability. So today, we are looking at sustainability because we're not charging anything from our um, social investors. We waived that off. We're also not charging anything from our borrowers because it's interest-free loans. So the only way to cover our costs right now is the membership fee which our partners are paying us. So Aruna, just as a recap, there are three revenue streams. One
Yeah.
is, we get social investors to pay us that 70 rupees per month. Then we have the partners paying us a partnership fee. And then we have the borrower also paying us a percentage, a small percentage, 1 or 2%. Now, because of the pandemic, we have waived off the social investor fee. We have waived off the borrower fee percentage. So only the partnership fee is helping us sustain ourselves. Plus, we are also raising small amounts of equity into the company, and together this is helping us to sustain ourselves. I think we need more support in the form of equity and at this point in time, because and access to networks, which can really benefit from the platform, from the technology which we have built, because the need is humongous. I think we will have to really, all of us, will have to work really, really hard to get India back on its feet. Yeah, that's a great question. I think, if you notice in our model, we always work with partners. The partners are a very important part of RangDe. And that's precisely why we do that, not only for digital access, but also we want somebody who can vouch for these communities, who can, who have a relationship, who have a, trust with this community, social capital. So that is very critical. And yeah, and because of the fact that we have somebody on the ground, they digital access does not pose a challenge.
I think that's good.
Yeah.
Aruna, you want to conclude because we are running out of time.
Yeah.
Vatsala are wanting to ask something.
Yeah.
Yes.
Hi Ram, I have not enabled my video because connection is very poor. I
Sure.
had just one question. In the last couple of months, I mean, since this pandemic has started, has your I mean, you must be having on a year-on-year basis, the number of borrowers would have been increasing. Do you see an upsurge, or have you found RangDe to become more meaningful to the borrowers today on the ground? Has there been an increase in people seeking your service, or I mean, how has been the trend?
No, absolutely. I think there has been a need. There's a crying need for credit, across the country, and sadly and ironically, I think we have been pushed under the limelight, largely because the cost structures of the other financial institutions and also the lack of liquidity, thanks to all the crises we had in the banks and the NBFCs, as a country, we've had a lot of challenges, and the result of that, and then we have this pandemic, right? So we never had an opportunity to recover, and therefore I think we are going through a massive economic distress. Well, we are doing whatever we can, but we're not even scratching the surface. I think people are fending for themselves. But yes, I think we are responding. We are looking at ourselves as frontline responders to the economic crisis. I think they're definitely doing, it's working for the communities, right? Because at the end of the day, for the last person, standing, it's the government. So the district magistrates, the collectorates, they're doing a fantastic job. They don't get talked about, the media doesn't cover it, but they're doing a fantastic job. What we are now looking at is to see, can we partner with them? We in fact just got a request from a partner of ours where the migrants have come back. They were given relief from the government till this month end. But coming next month, there is no plan. The plan is that they will be given employment to work on government projects. But the challenge is that they don't have the money coming in. So the order has been passed. So there's a very interesting, very unique request which has come in. Somebody got to know that our partner, works with RangDe. So they said, why don't you ask the folks at RangDe to see if they could provide the wages to these communities as a bridge loan for 2 months.
Wow.
Because by the time, because the treasury, works, the central state, and money flows in, let them give this loan and we'll give them those wages. And once the money comes, we'll repay RangDe.
That's fantastic.
Such requests, I think we are likely to see a lot more because, I think it just, the magnitude of the problem is massive. Please remember, the district collectorate is also responsible for the health crisis. They're also responsible for the economic crisis. So, I think we did this campaign for farmers with NDTV. I think it's a fantastic response. We also had a response from a family, one wonderful family, Vikram Lal and Anita Lal, the Eicher Motors, and the Good Earth founder. Completely unexpected. As a family, they have invested 2 crores as interest-free loans to small and marginal farmers. And it was absolutely heartwarming.
Ram, it was wonderful interacting with you as usual and learning so many new things. As I used to say in CSIM, each time we met you, you were coming up with new ideas. And
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye. Bye.